Elected members and visitors, if you could please remember to switch your electronic devices to silent. Welcome everybody. I'd also like to welcome those viewers at home who are watching the meeting via the live stream. And I'll ask you all please if you could be upstanding and ask you, Deputy Mayor Perkoff, if you could read out the opening prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake to do. May we respect each other's views at all times. We ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Councillor Migdale, could you read the acknowledgement of country, please?
Acknowledgement of country. On behalf of elected members, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, on which this meeting is taking place, and show our respect for elders, past, present and emerging.
Thank you. You can take your seats, everyone. Without prior approval, any recording of the meeting is prohibited. No action should be taken on any resolution of council prior to written advice from the council being received. Ladies and gentlemen, I now declare the council meeting of the 19th of May 2026 open at 6:30 p.m. Item 2, apologies. We've received an apology from the CEO, Mr. Stephen Roddick. Acting CEO tonight is Michael Quirk and Acting Director of Community Development is Shane Cameron. Mr. Silence, do we have any other apologies?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Item 3, approve leave of absence. I have nil. Item 4, disclose of interest. From the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee, I have nil. And from the Planning and Development Committee of the 12th of May, there were 5 disclosures which are on the screen behind me. Mr. Silence, have you got any disclosures to read out for this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I have one additional disclosure from Councillor Joe Ferranti for item CF3. It's an impartiality interest as he's a resident in the character retention area. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other disclosures this evening, councillors? Councillor Giudice?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Very similar to Councillor Ferranti, I'll be submitting an impartiality on the same basis.
Thank you. Councillor Ree?
Thank you. I would like to declare an interest in 12.2 CF3 because I'm a member of the Mount Lawley Society, which is affected by some of this. Thank you.
Any other disclosures? No? Then I'll go to item 5, petitions. Councillors, there are no verified petitions to be tabled. Do you have any unverified petitions you wish to table this evening? No indication. I'll go to item 6, responses from previous questions from members of the public taken on notice. I have nil. That brings us to item 7, public question time. We'll go on to public question time and I'll read them out in order they've been received, and I'll ask you, Liz Farrell, if you'd like to come forward. Okay, when you come forward, you'll see the microphone there. If you just press that bottom right-hand silver button, and that's it. And then you don't have to touch anything else and you can leave it on. So that red light will just show that it's on, everyone. Okay. You've got 3 questions, Ms Farrell, and if you just start with your name and suburb only, and then your first question.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Liz Farrell and I am from Manoora. My questions today are in regards to the ECU development and getting some clarification from yourselves.
Sure.
My first question is in regards to recently we have conducted a petition. We have over 780 plus signatures on that petition from local people in the area concerned about certain aspects of the ECU development, which include the lack of transparency on the height of some of the no height restrictions on some of the dwellings, potential dwellings, the lack of transparency in regards to Mount Lawley High School, the WAPA assets, and also the lack of transparency regarding the existing trees and green space there. So there has been a big interest from the local area. My questions are, one of the issues raised in the petition was the fact that the residents are concerned about the removal of mature trees from the site. There also seems to be not much usable green space that the actual what they've put out so far doesn't leave much green space, meaning that the impact will be around the surrounding parks and suburbs of Hamer Park and Ronstone Park. where a lot of the birds, and anybody that's been there has seen all the ducks nest as well. What is the City of Stirling doing to address the residents' concerns about this?
Thank you. Mr Van Heineken.
Through you, Mayor. The precinct structure plan is proposing to provide 2.6 hectares of public open space, which equates to about 17%. So as a total, usually 10% public open space is required for a residential development such as this. So we consider that provision of POS is adequate in this instance.
Thank you. And I can just add that at a briefing last night, ward councillors were very adamant that any public open space that is related to the proposed primary school on that site remain public open space and not be fenced off. Your second question, please.
It's in regards to the social housing and affordable housing that will be included on the site, and just getting some clarity on what that's going to look like, and some transparency on numbers of that. What would your position be on that?
Thank you. The city doesn't have a position on that really, but again, I think at the briefing those questions were asked, and there was no indication that there is a quota or a number that is proposed for that current site, but we're certainly happy to provide you a response in writing with any details we have on that.
Thank you. The last question is regarding the community concern around the WAPA facilities. Is it true that Mount Lawley, which has been promised the WAPA facilities and obviously got it in their long-term planning as a school, as you would, is it true that they may not be retaining it, or some of it may be partially demolished, that's the WAPA assets, unless it can be proved to be commercially viable?
Thank you for that question, Mr Van Heineken.
Through you, Mayor. Thanks, Ms Farrell, for the question. So the state government is currently in the process of investigating the reuse of the buildings, including the WAPA facility. Our knowledge at the moment is that they are investigating the use of those buildings for creative and educational purposes. So they're in the process at the moment to look at that. We don't have any information to the contrary at this stage.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Tracy Dembo. Is Tracy Dembo here?
She's just held up, she's coming.
Okay, that's all right. Michael Kane. And just your name and suburb, sir.
Michael Kane, Nollamara.
And your question.
Can the City of Stirling confirm exactly how many self-contained ancillary dwellings are currently approved for BC 25/1131, modular ancillary dwelling at this property zoned R20, and can the City of Stirling explain how approval for one ancillary structure appears to have resulted in 3 separate accommodation structures being installed on the property?
Thank you. Ms Shears.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you for your question, Mr Kane. The City is aware of the concerns that have been raised by residents around that particular site. I can confirm we share your concerns, and it's currently being investigated by our team at the moment.
Thank you. And your second question.
What steps is the City of Stirling taking to ensure compliance with its code of conduct to prevent corruption, conflicts of interest, or improper influence within planning and development decision-making, and outline what safeguards are in place to ensure transparency, accountability, the integrity in planning compliance investigations, particularly where there is significant community concern, and how does the City of Stirling ensure that planning and compliance decisions are free from both actual and perceived corruption or preferential treatment?
Thank you for that question. We call that business as usual, Mr Kane, but we'll provide you a response in writing.
Thank you. And the third one, can the City of Stirling explain how the current on-site outcome regarding that BC 25/1131 aligns with community expectations of what constitutes a single ancillary structure within an R20 residential zone?
Thank you. Ms Shears.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Mr Kane. The ancillary dwellings are supposed to be 70 square metres as a sort of deemed to comply requirement. Proposals can be submitted for more than that. This particular one is under investigation for that particular reason.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
For Hurricane? And just your name and suburb to start, and then your questions.
Ahira Kane, Nolamara. Sorry. I would like to continue the questioning raised by my husband as our concerns relate to the same development and the handling of this matter by the City of Stirling. Would the City of Stirling support identical developments throughout all, and I mean all, residential streets under the same interpretation?
Ms Shears?
Through you, Mr Mayor, we certainly appreciate your concerns and share your concerns as I outlined previously. It is under active investigation and we are looking into that very thoroughly right now.
Can the City confirm whether adjoining neighbours were ever formally notified or consulted regarding the scale and placement of these structures? And has the City of Stirling assessed whether the height, length and positioning of these structures create an overbearing visual presence for adjoining residents?
Thank you. Ms Shears?
Through you, Mr Mayor, Ms Kane, with that particular building application, they don't get advertised to neighbours. Planning applications do. As I mentioned, that is one of the aspects that we're investigating in terms of how this has come to be on site.
Can the City of Stirling explain the apparent contradiction between advising residents that this matter remains under investigation while occupation, additional servicing and continued works appear to proceed uninterrupted, including the delivery of additional rubbish bins to the property by the City of Stirling? The following morning, after I raised concerns regarding continued works and overflowing waste and what independent oversight exists to review planning compliance decisions and to ensure consistency with the City of Stirling Code of Conduct, a restaurant in Scarborough gets shut over non-compliance, but a caravan park in a residential R20 backyard gets approved and continues operating while residents deal with the noise, loss of privacy and overcrowding concerns. Same council, different standards. Interesting how rules apply very differently. Some residents need approvals if they want to dig a hole front of backyard to make small changes to their homes, but apparently multiple dongas to house foreign workforce in a suburban street are somehow acceptable. Fair and equal compliance or selective enforcement?
There's a lot there. We'll respond to you in writing with that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, is there a Cleo here? Yeah, thank you. If you'd like to come forward, just your name and suburb, please.
Cleo Sophianis, Nollamara. My questions relate to 26 Liddon Street also.
Sure.
What consideration has been given to the cumulative impacts of overlooking, noise transfer, increased occupancy, visual bulk and reduced privacy on adjoining residents?
Thank you. Ms Shears?
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you, Ms Sophianis, for your question. That particular site has a building approval and it does not have a planning approval. Those certain aspects is something that we would investigate as part of a planning approval. The investigation that officers are currently undertaking is part of that process. So we do need to collect evidence and we need to undertake site inspections. It is a lengthy process sometimes because it is important that if we end up in the State Administrative Tribunal that we have supportive evidence.
Okay. At what point does a residential backyard cease functioning as a normal residential backyard and become a high-intensity accommodation setup?
Thank you. And look, that'll form part of this investigation.
Okay. Would the Mayor and Council members personally consider this an acceptable development outcome directly adjoining their own family home?
Thank you for that question. And look, Ms Shears has answered that. The City shares the residents' concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a Virginia here? Yes, there is. If you'd like to come forward, please. And just your name and suburb to start.
Hi, my name is Virginia Hoopanen and I'm in Balcatta. My question is, I'm curious as to why the City of Stirling plants street trees under power lines when it's a wide verge, and why they don't set them back or forward closer to the footpath to provide shade there. And if the council or itself has a tree lopping business, or do any councillors have shares in the tree lopping business, because it seems to be quite a profitable business?
Thank you for that question. We wish we did. But no, and the reality is it doesn't matter if they're under the power lines or just back from the power lines, that they're close enough that they do still have to be trimmed and kept within that, that barrier of the power lines. If the city had its way, we would underground the whole city as rapidly as possible. It's not quite possible yet, but that's a desired outcome. So we'll continue planting those trees in the hope that we can underground those power lines and let them flourish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Second question, I don't know, is the council responsible for roads for main roads in any part of the Shire? So in particular, I'm referring to the strip of Main Street that's between Royal and Cape Street. It's been nicely upgraded on the north side of Royal Street, but the strip between Royal Street and Cape Street is gutted and has been for many years from the heavy trucks that go over it. And I'm just wondering, are there plans at the moment on the table to upgrade that area?
Yes, so we'll provide you a response in writing if I'm correct. Not only are we responsible for it, I believe that stretch you're talking to was done a few years back. So, but we'll provide you a response in writing on where it is on the asset management plan. Thank you. I'll go back to Tracy Dembo. I believe you're here now. Just your name and suburb to start with.
Sure, Tracy Dembo from Menora. I'm sure you're aware, but there's currently a community petition with over about 780 signatures on it that raises concerns in relation to the ECU precinct structure plan, including the lack of height restrictions in key areas. I'd like to know what the City of Stirling is doing to address community concerns about the lack of height restrictions, both in its recommendations to WAPC and otherwise.
Thank you. Mr Van Heineken.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms Dembo, for your question. So the public consultation has now concluded, so we are going through all the submissions. We are aware of the submission that you're referring to, and we will be preparing a report back to Council for Council's consideration, and they will consider all the submissions. Okay. So all those issues that's been raised will be considered by Council.
There's no other meaningful Perth precedent for any residential development exceeding 10 stories with the sort of density proposed in the precinct structure plan, which is located more than 2 kilometres from a train station. It seems to me that it's wholly irresponsible and inappropriate to have a development of this scale where there's no adequate transport infrastructure or serviceability. It also seems out of accord with other precinct structure plans in surrounding areas where height uplifts have been tied to transport triggers. Could we have the officers comment on that one too, please?
Thank you. Mr Van Heineken.
Through you, Mayor, thank you for that question as well. So the ECU site is located next to a high-frequency bus route. So although we prefer density in station precincts, we also focus density in the city along transport corridors and also close to centres. So this site is quite close to centres, and it's next to minor roads with buses.
Yeah, but there's no other precedent in the whole of the state for something of that scale without that being that close. I'll move on to my third question, thanks. The transport impact assessment, which is attached to the precinct structure plan, among other things, notes that key intersections will degrade to unacceptable levels of service, that there'll be severe queuing at Bradford Street and Leroy Street, and the primary school will be the predominant factor in generating unresolved congestion. In addition, the precinct structure plan does not seem to adequately address the parking for residents at the site and makes zero minimum parking assumptions in some cases. Traffic is already really bad at pick-up time at the high school on Bradford Street and Stancliffe Street. We've also seen what's happened to surrounding streets, for example, at the Karrinyup Shopping Centre, where Development WA said that parking and traffic would not be an issue. What is the City of Stirling doing to address these issues, and is it looking to specifically request amendments to the precinct structure plan to deal with them?
Thank you for that question. Look, Mr Van Heineken's provided some of that answer already. It will come to council and form part of council's decision-making process while we're not a decision maker in the outcome of this site. You weren't here a bit earlier when I did mention that council had a briefing last night on this particular precinct plan, and all I can say is the ward councillors and other councillors shared all of your concerns with the traffic outcomes around that area.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do rule to extend public question time past 15 minutes, and I'll ask you, Lisa Thompson, if you'd like to come forward.
Lisa Thompson, Trigg.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, councillors, executive officers and ratepayers. I just wanted to say thank you first to all those involved in cleaning up the rubbish in the A-class reserve dunes. It had been dumping ground, and the Stirling employees had worked hard for 2 days there to clean up. So I just wanted to really thank you. My question, has the city lodged an application or been successful in obtaining any funding from government departments, state or federal, or industry partners towards the construction costs of the proposed Trigg to Scarborough Boardwalk?
No, the city hasn't.
Question 2. Have any environmental approvals been completed and been submitted to the state coastal planning departments, EPA, DPIRD, the Department of Biodiversity Conservation and Attractions, or any other government agency which requires approval for the project?
Not that I'm aware of. We'll respond to you in writing though if there's any change to that.
Mayor Owen, under the FOI Act 1992 and in accordance with the City of Stirling's government's obligations, the following documents were made public. Your written application for legal representation costs made on the 5th of November 25, the 4 legal invoices issued to you and attention to the CEO, and the changes made by the Council to the legal representation for elected members and employees policy in the closed-door meeting on 11th of November 2025. These documents have been deemed to be in the public interest by your employer, the City of Stirling. They are satisfied that the public interest is in allowing the community to understand the basis on which decisions are made outweighs the factors favouring confidentiality. This puts paid to your ongoing assertions that you knew nothing about the issue in the 10th of February and aren't allowed to talk about it on the 24th, or that is confidential. With this knowledge and the specific reference to the 4 invoices from Thomas Greer amounting to $3,754.71, can you advise on this non-confidential public matter and simply advise ratepayers if you have paid it or will pay back the money?
Thank you for that question. We'll respond to you in writing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Bond. Just your name and suburb.
Mark Bond, Scarborough. Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors. Following the last council meeting, I thank all councillors who unanimously supported the electors' motion to address the bottleneck on West Coast Highway pathway by widening the path over the underpass south of South Trigg Car Park and to consider installing a guardrail. Mr Mayor, my first question. Has the City completed the 15% design of the proposed Scarborough to Trigg Boardwalk? And if no, when do you expect it to be completed and a design proposal submitted for consideration?
Thank you for that question. The simple answer is no, but we'll respond to you in writing with the anticipated date.
Thank you. Look, the City has $138 million in cash reserves plus $2.9 billion in assets. Ratepayers are struggling in this cost of living crisis, including mortgage increases. Mr Mayor, as Walga President, you said that City of Stirling rates are going to increase 5 to 8% and that you see a reduction in non-essential services and some of the nice-to-haves. Mr Mayor, could you please give an example or explain the nice-to-haves and non-essential services the ratepayers could do without?
Thank you for that question. I'll respond to you in writing, also with a clarification on what I actually said, because I wasn't referring to the City of Stirling.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Question 3. Mr Mayor, would you please justify how a $25 million boardwalk, now costing at least $1 million more in the present economic climate, could be considered essential and not a nice to have. Is the boardwalk a priority in City of Stirling?
Thank you for that question. The council has determined that the boardwalk is being progressed to a 15% design. It certainly won't form part of this year's budget to be built.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. And Roland Hadley. Just your name, sir.
Good evening, Roland Hadley, Woodlands. The Ewan Street Community Group wish to know if development application DA 25/0807, the Woodlands North application, which is the sandpit which borders Scarborough Beach Road and Ewan Street East, has passed through the city's processes, and what changes, if any, have been made to form, height, traffic flow, lighting, parking, etc. And is this information available on the city's website?
Thank you for that question, and we'll respond to you in writing.
Thank you.
That's all I have on my list. Are there any other questions? Yes, come forward. Just your name and suburb.
Ariane Bradley, Balcatta, not about cats. Oh, I thought something different. It's about hoarding issue at Green Avenue, Balcatta. I have brought it up to the council before. I've actually got a SAT hearing on the property on Thursday, the 21st, this Thursday. I was just wondering, is the council still going to be looking at the back? Because the back is basically rat infested, rat nest, and yeah, we're just trying to clean it up. So I've got this far with SAT. So we've got a 6-hour hearing on Thursday, the 21st.
Thank you for that question. Are you happy if we get an officer to call you, or the acting CEO will give you a call tomorrow and discuss it all?
Fantastic. Thank you.
I think it'd be better if we discuss all that with you and give you the information you need.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you mind just turning that off as you, the bottom right hand?
Hi. Do I get paid?
Thanks, Mr. Redley. Good job. Thank you, everyone. I'll now go on to applications for leave of absence. Councillors, are there any applications for leave of absence this evening? No. Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can I move it in a second to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on the 5th of May 2026? Move Councillor Papard, seconded Councillor Hatton, and just show of hands to accept those minutes, councillors. That is unanimous. Thank you. Announcements by the presiding member. Just to quickly thank Deputy Mayor Carlo Perkoff for chairing that meeting and for acting Mayor for the last 2 weeks. Great reports. Thank you, Council, for supporting him, and thank you, Councillor Perkoff, for your work. Item 11, unresolved business from previous meetings. Item nil, reports and recommendations of committees is item 12. And we'll go first of all to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. It was chaired by Councillor Perkoff as well. Are there any items from that you wish to be pulled out, councillors? Councillor Reid?
Yes, please. I'd like to pull out 12.1A2, please, on page 20. Thank you.
Yep. Well, in that case, Councillor Iron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I want to pull out 12.2, CF2, please.
Okay, we'll get to that one in a minute, Councillor. We'll deal with the audit risk ones first, and then I'll come to you after. So I'll go to you, Deputy Mayor, on 12.1 IA2, the internal audit plan, if you'd like to move.
Thank you, Mayor. 12.1 IA2, I move the committee recommendation on page 13.
Thank you. Councillor Reid, just happy to second with a question, or have you opposed or?
Okay, no, I don't think I'll second it just in case, but I will have questions.
Okay, Councillor Kristovich will second it. Councillor Reid will go as opposed. Councillor Perkoff, would you like to say anything?
Nothing to add at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Kristovich?
Yeah, no, it was debated at committee and I support it.
Thank you. Councillor Reid?
Yes, thank you. On page 29, we talk about what's outstanding and, sorry, this is not, this is actually in public record. Okay, not
Yep.
the confidential part.
Yep.
On page 29, we've got the data governance. Estimated outside sourcing is 120 hours. One, I thought with our RMS and with our upgrade to IT, we wouldn't have that. Could I have an explanation of why, number one, we've got it, and why it's so excessive?
Thank you. Ms Hawkins? Oh, sorry, Ms Flynn?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. That audit is for the PRIS Act, the PRIS Act that came into effect on 1 January, with the main privacy obligations coming into effect on 1 July. So that audit, the objective is to see if the city has implemented everything in line with the Act and that we're compliant with the Act. Those outsource hours, they're just an estimate at this stage until a thorough scope is done. And given the nature of that audit would be outsourced as it's quite specialised as it deals with our IT systems, and it wouldn't be performed in-house.
Councillor Reid?
Can I ask whether or not, through you, is it commonplace to, well, you have got an external auditor. Is it commonplace to have this then taken out to other people all the time? I thought that was why we increased the people in our audit section and our risk management section, that we reduced the need to go out to consultants or experts.
You are looking at our audit section over here. Ms Lynn, do you want to? So yes, it is normal to outsource specific audit principles and especially it provides that independent view on it.
We know that this was coming in because it was discussed last year, and I thought we had processes in place that we wouldn't have to go to such an extent, because when we look at the financials, there is no financials to actually support in the documentation to support this huge increase. We're talking about budgets, we're talking about ratepayers, and even if you look up 340 hours of outsourcing, and even if it's $200 or more an hour, that's a huge amount on our budget. And I don't think we actually budgeted for this much originally. Now, I take on board the comment that it is written up of July, August. So are we saying that some of it's the carryover from this budget? Because I couldn't find it that we paid any before.
No, I think some of that was clarified before. Ms Flynn?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The outsourced audits are covered within the internal audit budget. The plan always has a portion of audits that will be outsourced, especially those audits that are more specialised around IT systems. That's always been the case at the city, that some audits are done in-house and some audits are outsourced, and it's covered within the internal audit budget. There's not much change from what would have been proposed last year. It's usually a kind of a mix.
Through you, we didn't have this on the agenda last year, so why would that be different, number one? Number two, we've got the security and disaster recovery, which I can see because they've changed a lot of things security-wise through COVID and how we actually address things. I don't see how we can keep upgrading it every year. It doesn't seem cost-effective. We seem to be just chasing a tail. Not necessarily our fault, I must admit, but there has to be some line in the sand where we're going with these increases. And, you know, I just find it's just getting too much and I don't know whether we're getting value for it. And that's, I'll just say that out loud. The other thing...
And I can just provide a quick response and you could take that up with the Auditor General. But effectively, all local governments are held to the highest account, and part of the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee utilises, it's important to separate, there's a function of the internal audit and then there's the internal auditor. Under the function of the internal audit, there is a budget that's set each year, and that includes several of those outsourcing pieces that all form part of that audit plan that Council approves.
Which comes back to another concern. It's been written up recently about how many councils are not financially viable. Now, this is not the first time they're in debt for millions of dollars. What are the auditors, the independent auditors, as you just said, what are they doing about this, and what is the Auditor General? And I take it back to last year, well, my apologies, I take it back to 2017, which I've raised in the public, and it was also in the media and the public domain, where they changed the superannuation rules, which was not out of our control, and then we didn't pay all the staff, and it ended up in court. Why wasn't the Auditor General, why wasn't our independent auditor with all these extra layers, why wasn't that picked up time and time again until it went to court last year? And now you see other councils...
That wasn't related to an audit process, Councillor.
It must have been, because we didn't pay the super for everybody. So it has to have been an audit. Somebody must be checking the checker here. And we're here believing what we're written here. And then we see it in the media that we didn't actually pay. We're not the only ones. Cambridge, quite a few councils were in the same boat. But is it because the Auditor General was checking and they didn't check? Is it because we've got all these systems in place that they've got too many systems that don't know where they're talking to each other, one robot to another? But somehow, to be accountable to our ratepayers, and that's a classic example where whether the staff, councillors, obviously the staff here, obviously the staff outside that didn't get paid knew about it, but we didn't. And I think a lot of councils are in the same boat. So I'm not saying it's just us.
I don't think we should be, Councillor, I'm happy to take your debate, but I think it's important to separate what we're dealing with as an item here on the strategic internal audit plan and specific issues with either staff employments, but certainly not other councils. We don't need to be talking about them as part of our internal audit plan.
The point is that we are not alone. It seems to be coming up that quite a few councils are in the same boat. So I'm saying that this strategic internal audit plan is not correct. It's not picking up things that it should be picking up. And I've heard that from other councillors in other councils, and I've even heard it from other staff, directors in other councils. Somehow, these things are going through the hole somewhere. This is not addressing the issue. And yes, I have made a comment to the Auditor General as well. And I know a lot of people have, but I'm not saying it's just us. I'm saying it's quite a few councils that have said it. So I don't think this plan is addressing what we need to do to make sure things don't happen in the future. And so therefore I will vote against it, because I think we can't keep spending money, ratepayers' money, on something that afterwards we find out, hey, why didn't we know that?
Thanks, Councillor. Is anyone else who'd like to debate? Councillor Migdal?
Just want to reiterate that it is legislated for us to do this, and I support it.
Thank you. Is anyone else who'd like to debate? If not, I'll go to you, Councillor Perkoff, to close debate.
Thank you, Mayor Irwin. I support the committee recommendation, and I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
So with that, I'll put that item to the vote. That is carried 14-1 with Councillor Ree voting against it. I'll now go to the final item and ask you, Councillor Perkoff, if you could move item 12.1 IA1.
Was that one pulled out, Mayor Irwin? Am I moving the balance?
That is the balance,
yeah,
Councillor. We can, tomatoes.
I so move the balance of reports as written, Mayor. Thank you.
Is there a second for the balance of reports? Thank you, Councillor Papard, and I'll put that one to the vote. Thanks. And that is unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Members of the gallery and viewers at home, please note that both of those Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee items have been approved. We'll now go on to items from the Planning and Development Committee held on the 12th of May. Councillor Owen, you had wished to withdraw one of these ones. Which one was it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's 12.2 CF2, please.
Thank you. Councillor Ferrante?
Yes, I'd like to pull out 12.2 CF3.
Any others that you wish to pull out this evening? No, if not, I will go to 12.2 CF2. Councillor Migdal as chair, would you like to move committee rec?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move the recommendation of committee for 12.2 CF2.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Perkov. Councillor Iron, I'll put you down as opposed. Is that right? Yep. And I'll go to you, Councillor Migdal, to open debate.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't really have anything to add on this one. I think that we robustly considered this item at committee last week, and there were one or two concerns that were raised. Those concerns were overridden through the Director of Planning and various officers who made comment, and I felt ultimately very comfortable with this item getting up, so I don't have anything against it as it is.
Thank you. Councillor Perkoff.
Nothing to add, Mayor Organ.
Councillor Iron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one question regarding this point. My question is for the officers. If they are open to address the points that Mr. Collins raised during the committee planning meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shears.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Councillor Iron, for the question. We would prefer the item to go through public consultation so that we can get the full breadth and depth of submissions, and then we can consider all the points raised after that process is completed.
Councillor? That's it?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Ree?
Yes, thank you. A couple of things. Who was there? Who and was there an expert heritage person involved with this report, please?
Thank you. Ms. Hughes? Or Mr. Moore? Looking very confident over there.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for the question, Councillor Ree. The heritage, we did have a heritage consultant several years ago prepare a character assessment for the Beaufort Street as part of the overall Beaufort Street strategy that was undertaken around about 10 years ago now. So we used the information provided by that heritage consultant to inform the preparation of this particular policy.
10 years ago. Good to have a current one. That must be interesting with the Audit Committee. On page 51, it says
It's
that
heritage,
it doesn't
Councillor.
include maps in the heritage area. Why not?
Sorry, it doesn't include.
It says the LPS4 does not include maps identifying the city heritage area. One would think if we're going out for public consultation and people looking at things, we would have a map.
Mr. Moore?
Thank you, through the chair, Mr. Mayor. So when the city prepared local planning scheme number 4, we were given a very clear direction in terms of simplifying the city's local planning scheme. Part of that involved removing special control areas that I guess are not supported by the state government in terms of how it currently applies the state planning framework. So one of the main purposes of the updated local planning policies for both Beaufort Street and for the surrounding heritage areas is to designate the heritage areas, but also to delineate the heritage areas. So the maps within those relevant policies delineate the extent of the city's heritage areas and contain statements of significance for those areas.
Through you, I think before it goes out to advertising, which I do say it's a good idea, could we not have a link to the maps on the website or something so people have an idea rather than they could ring Mr. Moore every day? But, just to make it a little bit easier, otherwise people are going to read that and not understand that one part has said this and that.
I think the answer was it is.
No, it's not in this. For what
Mr.
actually
Moore?
goes out to people.
Yes, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, through the chair. So in addition to the city's local planning policies designating and delineating the heritage areas, we do have a number of different pages, information pages on the city's website, several of which directly relate to heritage. And we can certainly, or those maps will be available on that website, on those web pages.
Could we actually have it with the consultation so people don't have to then go and try to look it up and find out where it is? That's good. Thank you very much for that. The other question is, one of the biggest problems that we're facing these days is these development approvals that have, and I'll use that term loosely, parking management plans, which means that they're supposed to be contained on the site, which they're not. And the parking guys can't nab them because they don't have the approval. It's got to be the planning guys that are supposed to be approving them. I have got a motion that I'm trying to wordsmith up with Mrs. Shears, which hasn't come back yet. But I just feel that That is an issue that's still not being addressed when we look at this, and even when we look at 12.2 CF3. It's the parking that is still not there. And if you're going to put an R80 next to an R20, then it's going to be horrendous parking, and yet we're not controlling the residents for who have got their house and to park on their verge or anything. Why isn't this addressed in here? And somehow with the parking issue, it needs to be overall addressed. We can see what happens in Scarborough, you can see what happens in Bulga, but now with density developments, which we do need, there's no control over people parking everywhere.
I'm guessing the simple answer is it doesn't form part of a policy, but...
Point is, why
look,
not?
Look how eager, I've got 3 hands over there. Pick me, Mr Moore.
Thank you, through the chair. The parking policies for development along Beaufort Street is contained on page 69 of the agenda for this evening's meeting. Car parking requirements for residential development are contained within the R code, the applicable R codes.
Thank you, that's not my point. My point is we've got all these glossy words of saying you have to have a parking management plan. They are contained on site. They are not contained on site. That's the whole point. What are we doing about saying they're not contained on site? We have to make it explicit. Somebody's got to take it.
I don't know of any, I'll get some clarification. I don't know of any planning policy or rules that say that cars have to be contained on a site.
No, the parking management plans with the development approval, it says...
Only with significant developments, that would be like shopping centre developments or something. But Mr Moore?
Residential. I can give you a couple of examples.
Thank you, through the chair. It is an expectation that the car parking requirements for all development do require the car parking to be provided on site. That is a requirement for both the policy and for residential development in the surrounding streets.
Mr Mayor, I can say that. You said that. We all agree with that.
Yeah.
What happens when they breach it? And they're constantly breaching it and being all over the people's houses. You're going to have R80, you're going to have an R20. Those poor R20 people in their beautiful houses and gardens are going to be overloaded by all this parking. How do they get breached? How do they get a parking fine? And they're there because they live over there.
I don't necessarily disagree with you, Councillor. All I'm just trying to say...
It has to be, if we're going to have a policy, can't we bring that in somehow?
I can't imagine how you could resource 110,000 houses getting checked to make sure their cars are parked in their driveway every night, Councillor. Like it's...
Well, that's what I mean. And we can't keep agreeing to this density development without trying to address it. We haven't got the resources, we haven't got the time, but we've got to somehow protect the residents. And I mean, Mr Mullins could talk about, lots of times he gets called out for the issues that are people, houses.
I don't think Mr
cars.
Mullins wants to.
No, but he has. for cars down the street in density developments getting parked in front of people's houses.
Ms Shears.
Through you, Mr Mayor, thank you, Councillor Ria. I understand your concern. The limitation is that when we assess a development application it provides the required amount of parking, say they have to provide 10 bays and they provide 10 bays. What we can't control is the people that live in that apartment, and if they need 3 cars or they have 4 cars for people that live in that apartment. There is no ability for us to control that. When they purchase a property or if they decide to live in a particular property, that is obviously a consideration that those individuals need to make when they're moving in there. There's only a certain number of bays we can require them at a development application stage.
But that's my point. We're not addressing this issue. You've got an area, and you've got cars everywhere.
Councillor, we can't ask the same thing over and over.
No, but
the answer is we can't.
What's the point of these policies if we're not going to try to address the issue that we've got? Wait till I put my motion up. When it's wordsmith better.
Thanks, Councillor Reid. Is there anyone, Councillor Giudice?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I asked a number of questions at committee last week, and I do appreciate the officers responding at that time, and also equally the answers during the week to assist us. I suppose at the time I did have my reservations about the LPP as it's presented, and then I suppose reverted back to discussions about the LDP and the elements that were in that LDP perhaps being lost. With that, and I did even seek whether we could actually postpone its advertising, but I do understand that if we do prolong it, the LPP we won't have any controls with LPS, I should say, Local Planning Scheme number 4 being in play without, some sufficient controls for Beaufort Street. So I'm reluctantly supporting tonight's I suppose this item. But I would like just to ask a question of the officers, whether they would be welcome to having key stakeholders such as Mount Lawley Society to perhaps meet during the advertising period to discuss their concerns, and equally even councillors as well, to talk through it and just try to understand that, I suppose the elements that that the LDP upholds or is seeking to uphold are carried through into the LPP, because I think that's where the key concerns are from Mount Lawley Society particularly. But yeah, just asking a question whether they might have an opportunity to meet.
Yeah, so the simple answer is yes, certainly. I can also just confirm, whilst this is a current item, if you think back probably a year ago now or so, when LPS4 went out for its advertising and went through the final process, exactly the same issues were raised, because it was all about the removal of all those local development plans. And there was a lot of work even done with the society back then to explain the fact that the R-codes have the ultimate control and provide even a stronger area of control than the local development plan does. But then all of those other good things about the heritage in that local development plan have been carried forward into this policy. But they're happy, and it's been gone through already, but they're happy to sit down and go through it.
Yeah, I think there is still some concerns around that, and I sort of voiced them last week as well. So yeah, if that is going to be done, that'd be great. That's a simple society would support, at least having a meeting.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any other debate for this one? If not, I'll go back to you, Councillor Migdale, to close.
Lastly, I just want to say thank you to all officers involved in compiling this vast body of work. We don't say it often, but we do appreciate each and every one of your input and work on this. And lastly, just to reaffirm, it has always been the city's position to work with the Mount Lawley Society as local stakeholders, and we encourage that relationship moving forward. And in saying that, I'd like to put this item.
Thank you, and we will put it. Yeah. Yeah. Who's running this meeting? We've got one to go. Councillor Migdale, it's your vote. Thanks, councillors, and that is unanimous. I've got item 12.2 CF3. It's been pulled out by Councillor Franny. Councillor Migdale as chair.
Thank you, and I do believe there is an alternative recommendation. Is that correct? Yes, is that an amendment?
Well, why don't you move it, councillor, as chair of the committee, and then Councillor Franny can second with an amendment.
Well, I'll move it for the purpose of debate.
Well, you will, because you're chair of the committee and it was a committee recommendation.
Well, can I not put it to Councillor Ferrante to move his amendment? I don't have to move it, do I, as chair?
How about I chair it and you just do what I've asked, please. Just move. You're the committee chair. There's a committee recommendation. I think it's appropriate that the committee recommendation be put to council. It's up to council whether they choose then to support the committee recommendation or not, and we can do it with an amendment through Councillor Ferrani rather than a different motion that wasn't the committee recommendation.
Okay.
Trust me on this one. I got it. Councillor Ferrani, would you like to second this with an amendment?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to second it with an amendment. It's a slight amendment, just an item 1. You'll see it on the screen now.
Yep.
All references and it's an additional sort of modification to the references in regards to the PVC material for the streets, the frontages of windows. I'd like to move that it's removed as a reference because of various reasons. Happy to explain.
Yep. So, Councillor Migdale, are you happy to accept that as an amendment? 2 minutes ago, you were going to give him the chair.
Can it be voted? Can it be voted separately?
No. Well, if you don't want to accept it, no. So I'd rather, if you don't want to support this as an amendment, I'd rather get a different second and we'll get Councillor Ferrani to put it as an amendment. I was under the impression you knew what this was because you were handing.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, but I'd like to talk to this and ask for officer comment.
No, you can't yet. So let's.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You're not happy to accept this as an amendment straight up? Let's do this a different way. Have a seat. What I'll do is I'll ask, just ignore the red one for a minute. Is there someone who's happy to support the committee recommendation? Councillor Giudice. Councillor Franti's opposed because we know that he wants to put an amendment up. Councillor Meekdale, we're talking to the committee recommendation. Without the amendment, it hasn't come up yet.
Nothing to add.
Okay, that's fine. Councillor Giudice. Sorry, I've got to follow meeting procedures.
Look, yeah, I'm supportive of the item with no further changes.
Councillor Franti, all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason why I put this forward this evening is that, like roller shutters, it's no different to me. They are acceptable on the side of the home where it's not visible to the street. The problem with PVC, and I don't see much evidence of it in the area because I live in the area.
So PVC doesn't exist at the moment. So if you'd like to do that, you need to move your amendment. We'll get a second.
I'd like to move my amendment, please, for the 14th time.
That's all right. It's only for the first time. All right, is there a seconder for Councillor Franti's amendment?
Thank you.
Councillor Proud? Is there anyone opposed? Yep, Councillor Giudice. Councillor Franti, we're just dealing with the amendment now. If you'd like to tell us why you want to remove the PVC.
Yeah, look, PVC over 10 or 15 years is not paintable, is my understanding. It will eventually fade. It's not a standard material that you see in the character retention areas. Timber has always been the priority. That's sandable, paintable, although the colour must be white or cream. Or as to the guidelines, this product, like roller shutters, is a watering down process of my view of the streetscapes, knowing over the years how we've been pretty specific around character retention and some of the verandas and all types of things over the years I've seen rejected. This is similar to verandas or an amendment of that. There is a structure around this. It's not paintable. It will look terrible in a few years' time, and it's not something I'd like to see in the suburb, which is heavily invested in maintaining guidelines and character retention. So that's why I'm moving it.
No. Councillor Proud, would you like to talk to the amendment?
Adequately explained already by Councillor Farran.
Thank you. Councillor Giudice, would you like to talk?
Yeah, look, I just want to check with the officers that this, I suppose, inclusion of PVC in the heritage, protection area document was advertised with PVC in it?
Yes. Mr. Moore?
Included?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it was advertised with PVC in it.
And when it came to council the last time, it had that in it. So, I mean, other councillors around the room approved that item to go forward with the PVC included?
Yes. So, but I think it's important to note, council put it out to advertising. So,
I'm trying to establish how long this has been in a document.
Sure.
And
how
we're
it's changed.
right at the 11th hour, we're being asked to remove it.
Yes. Can I just also maybe just help you out and just ask Mr. Moore, can you give us any advice on, during consultation, was any information or comments provided by community on the slide? Sorry,
there was a comment, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the question. During the advertising of the draft policy, which Council did include support with the inclusion of PVC as a material, we did receive comments from the Mount Lawley Society, who did not object to the use of PVC as a material for windows in the city's heritage areas.
Thank you. Happy to help, Councillor Giudice.
Yeah, well, that was what I was seeking to ask the next question, and I think they even said to the point that they actually would present as closer to a timber, which is the preferred. So that's from the Mount Lawley Society. So I don't discount maybe some of the concerns Councillor Franti has, but Mount Lawley Society is well regarded around the city and have indicated that that would be an appropriate form of window framing. So I'm a little bit perplexed why we're actually having it removed.
Sure.
So look, that's the reason why I'd be not in support of this.
Thanks. So, councillors, noting that we are just dealing with an amendment on PVC, happy to take more debate on it, but let's not over-debate PVC being in all right. Councillor Dudek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a very brief question then, looking at the policy and just in response to the answer we just got about the Mount Lawley Society not being supportive of it. I just want to know, it says in the proposed policy, the PVC, and then in brackets, we're not located on the city's heritage list. can I just get some clarification? As the policy currently stands or is proposed, would a somewhere in the city's heritage area could use PVC, but not something on the specific city's heritage list? And can I just get some clarification?
Sure. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor Dudek. So all properties within the city's heritage areas are subject to the requirement, and obviously they could have PVC windows should council adopt this policy. However, properties on the city's heritage list are subject to a far greater level of protection and scrutiny than properties in the heritage area generally. We do have 3 different categories of properties on the city's heritage list, and due to their, I guess, increased significance and their inclusion on the heritage list, we've determined that the intactness and the uniqueness of those buildings is such that this policy or this provision should not apply to those particular buildings.
Thanks, Mr. Moore. I think that was the longest yes I've ever heard. Most detail. Councillor Migdale?
Through you, Mayor, I just want clarity around if applications including PVC windows have been put through council and been approved. So in other words, are they currently existing, and what other items of the streetscape are currently acceptable in PVC?
Thank you. Ms. Hughes? Mr. Moore?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes.
Yes. So,
We have approved, we
Well
have received
played,
a
Mr.
number of,
Moore.
excuse me, we have received a number of development applications proposing PVC as a material. They have increased over the last year or so. We have looked at those carefully to ensure that the outcomes of those materials would be consistent with the city's heritage guidelines, which is why we're now including them within the policy. If they're not in the policy, we can still approve them, but it becomes a merit-based assessment, which just makes it a little bit more time-consuming to assess. But yes, we have approved several examples.
Yep, Councillor?
The other items in the streetscape, so
Other-
fences, letterboxes.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. We have also been approving aluminium and UPVC fencing as an appropriate material because they can be formed and manufactured in such a way that they replicate traditional fencing detailing.
And that's in the heritage protection area right now, so it exists right now.
Yes. Thanks, councillors. Councillor Ferrandi, would you like to close debate on your amendment?
Yeah, I'd like to close. Those items listed that you just gave the examples of through the chair and the officer were removable items. It's like solar panels, you know. Solar panels will sit on the front of a roof. They're removable. If worse comes to worse, and we say, which is one of these items, that solar panels from a visible perspective are not allowed and will be on the sides of homes. And I stand corrected if the officer wants to correct me, but they are all removable items. These are window frames which are not easily removable and not easily paintable. Whilst there is certain allowances and other societies are putting their point of view, I live in the area as well, and I certainly know over the years, or 14 years of what I've seen, and I see this as a watering down of the process, so that's why I'm moving it.
Thanks. So what we've got is we're just dealing with the amendment, councillors. If you support Councillor Ferrante removing the PVC material from this policy, then vote yes. If you don't want this amendment, then vote no. But it's just the amendment we're dealing with. Yes? Okay, I'll put that to the vote. So if you're saying yes, you get the amendment. You remove PVC out. Yep. Got one to go. I've got Councillor Olo. Is that? That's it. Voted. All right, that motion is carried 11-4 with Councillor Crowdo, Dudek, Ferrante, Hatton, Kristovich, Migdal, Olo, Perkoff, Proudry and Thornton voting for, against Councillor Giudice, Iron, Papard and myself. So that becomes part of the substantive now. So the original committee recommendation with the removal of the PVC. So given that was a committee recommendation, we already have a mover and a seconder. being Councillor Giudice and Councillor Migdale, I will put that to the vote. So we're... Oh, is there anyone opposed? Councillor, you're opposed to that?
The amendment's now been included, so now we can, which has been
Sure.
approved, so now we can talk on the whole motion.
Yeah, okay.
Correct?
So you're against, okay. Councillor Giudice, as mover of the motion.
No, I think we had a fair bit of discussion about this last week at committee, and yeah, I think we've had enough about PVC, so I think we should just keep going.
Thank you. I think we got those around the wrong way, haven't we? Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I'm reading my screen. Yeah, I'm reading the screen. Yeah, Councillor Migdale, would you like to speak to the whole motion? No, you'll get a chance to close. We'll just swap that around and play around a bit with our meeting procedures. Councillor Ree, you're opposed. Let's hear from you.
Yes, please. On page 95, we talk about the amount of submissions and the stakeholder engagement, which I find is really important because we must listen to the community. It is a concern that even though it had 7 extra days because of Good Friday, it was going into school holidays. And I thought that we did maybe not put up a motion, but I thought we had a policy to keep everything away from school holidays, Easter, etc., when we're doing this. So that concerns me. Secondly, is that we only had 14 submissions, which makes me think, you know, there's a lot of people that are very vocal with heritage, and these changes, whether it's the fence or the PVC, can make a difference. And I think Councillor Giudice and Councillor Migdale talking to people about the Heritage Awards and what people want to do with their place and standing out there, I want this, I want to come this, the streetscape all look the same. I think it's really is important to people, and it does concern me with only 14. But I will vote against this because 71% of the people who took the time to apply within 100 metres of the heritage area said no. That is a significant number, even if the core sample is not huge. That's the community saying, we don't want the fences in that. And while I agree that with Councillor Ferranti in the PVC, I think there's more to this documentation that they didn't like, that I think we should be mindful of. And I would have liked to have the officers comment on, even though they have commented on bits and pieces of why they disagreed, but to have so many people so close say no to the whole document, I don't think we can support this. I think it needs to go back and talk to the community and maybe add the PVC that across the board, maybe the fences, maybe other things. And as we've got changes in the densities and changes in what's going on in the area, I think it's really important that we keep our heritage streetscape alive. So I don't know if that's possible. I'll leave to you.
Well, I can only provide my view, and my view would be that these policies are part of the fact that we've now got a new planning scheme and they provide the context that sits underneath it. My take on it would be that the city has been outstanding in its significant history dealing with heritage protection areas, that not only all of the community who live in that area have bought into that area for the very reason of those heritage protection, the heritage through the Mount Lawley Society, the work they've done, and that the community around that area are extremely knowledgeable of all of these things that sit within inside this policy. And this policy doesn't represent any significant change to that character retention. And again, I would only surmise that perhaps those 7 people that live within 100 metres are opposing it because they want to do something to their house that isn't heritage listed. But I'll get some comments. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the invite to comment. You are spot on. It is important to go beyond the raw numbers in terms of how many, the percentage of objectors and those who supported. There is a schedule of submissions which accompanies the report at attachment 5. And His Worship the Mayor is correct that a lot of people who objected to the policy did so because they felt it was too restrictive, that they want to see the policy watered down and more contemporary development allowed in the area. So it's really important to understand that, and we took those, that I guess we went through all the submissions, and I guess that was a very clear message to us that those who objected would generally wanted a watering down of the provisions.
Mr. Mayor, I think the whole point of having a heritage area is to not have it watered down. If you want to go and build something, go somewhere else. You know, this is not supposed to be watered down. We're supposed to be making sure our history is saved. We don't have a heritage committee anymore, which I was on before I was
Councillor,
on
I
council.
just want to.
And we haven't had a comment. We don't have a. This report is based on someone writing it 10 years ago.
It's not, councillor, and I just want to make sure you're debating against yourself.
I'm debating against you.
No, because I don't debate. I'm just sharing. I'm trying to provide clarification. The information is this policy has been out for advertising. There hasn't been a lot of responses, which we don't normally see in these areas. For a start, it's not a massive area, but the city has a track record delivering on one of the best heritage areas in this state, strongly supported by the Mount Lawley Society and the residents there. The fact that there are some people opposed to this is because they want to water it down, not because this policy waters it down. This policy provides all of the strength in that character retention of the Englewood heritage area that you're looking for. Councillor Dudak, did you indicate?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you just answered my question yourself.
Is there anyone else who wishes to debate? Otherwise, I'll go back to the actual mover, Councillor Migdale, if you'd like to close. You're okay? Then I will put this item to the vote. Thank you, councillors, and that motion is carried with Councillor Ree voting against. Councillors, I'll now go to you, Councillor Migdale, to do the balance of the Planning and Development Committee reports.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll move the balance of reports.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councillor Proud. I will ask you to go to the vote on the balance of reports, councillors. Oh, I've got one to go. Councillor Ion. Thank you, and that is unanimous, councillors. So those members of the gallery and the viewers at home, please note that the other two items, the balance of reports for the Planning and Development Committee, have also been endorsed by council. Can I also just pass a comment and just thank the officers who've done, there's a lot of work that sits behind all this, sort of finalising that piece of LPS4. So thank you to all the officers for your work in these planning policies. I'll go on to item 13, and we'll go first of all to 13.1, which is public open space framework and priority areas. Is there a mover of a motion? Councillor Migdale. Yeah. Happy to move that motion. Is there a seconder for the public open space? Councillor Ferrante. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Ree. I'll go to you, Councillor Migdale.
I'd like to thank the officers for engaging with councillors in the compilation of this report and in very clearly and adequately addressing all public open space across all wards in the city and the future of our parks, and breaking it down into piecemeal, park by park. There is absolute transparency and understanding of where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are, where we need to pull up and where we need to deliver more, and how we're going to do that, all while keeping water wise as a city. I'm really grateful for the process that we undertook on this, and more than satisfied with the outcoming, certainly for my ward, but more importantly for other wards that don't have the percentage of canopy and open space areas that we have. We are very, very lucky to enjoy in the Lawley ward. So there's nothing that I found that I took issue with in this report. Happy to accept it as is and grateful to the officers who compiled it.
Thank you. Councillor Ferrante.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public open spaces will be and will continue to be gold for for us here in the city. We'll be under more and more pressure with public open space as inbuilt and infill continues, and it will become a commodity that will be a psychosocial and a well-being commodity that we'll need to invest in, and it will cost a lot of money over time, so we need to have a plan.
Thank you. Councillor Ree.
Thank you, yes, and I'd like to thank Mr Johnson for this, because I think it's really important that we had this done, considering what's been going on with parks over the years. So it's actually a really good ready reckoner. I am concerned about some of the parks, and they're not necessarily in my area, but some of them I know very well. But I'll talk about just Jackadder Lake The issue involving Jackadder Lake with the trees, the lawns, the birds, the fishing, the craziness, the algae, has not been addressed. This has been going on since November. The boat people have had to go. Other people can't do things. Why is it listed as a 2? It's still not being addressed.
Thanks, Councillor Reid, but I don't think this is a framework for the public.
It's a framework, but it's also got a priority framework. If we agree to this tonight, that tells the officers don't do anything on this
no,
if
it
it's
doesn't.
a 6 or a 5.
No, it's a different. You're talking about a different thing. Your concerns are valid, but that can be a conversation with Mr. Johnson, and the team will go and look at it. But there's reasons for algal blooms, and there's reasons for polyshot hole borer, and there's reasons for other things. That isn't part of this framework. And I think it's important to note, like, there's many parks obviously across the city. There's hundreds of them. If there's individual problems with individual parks and where they are, that can still be adjusted. This is a framework to provide for that. But the operational side of looking after them isn't part of this.
But that's true. It's an operational issue. But when you're having someone mow and only half of it's mowed and whatever, and then it ends up getting to such a high platform, and no offence to Mr. Johnson because he's doing a good job, and I walked him through and he survived too. So I just think that things are not getting any better. We're coming into nearly a year addressing things. The algae bloom in the stream is from further up. Yes, it might be construction and whatnot to do with Stevenson, but we know that. So why isn't it being addressed before it gets worse? We're not mitigating against the things that are wrong. I think that's my point. But to put it as 2 and to make it as a minor issue when it's been closed and people can't use it, that to me, I don't understand in this matrix. The idea is good. Some of these are very well, and I don't oppose, but when you've got a park and it's got very little we've got in W Ward, and it's one of our original, and it's a showcase that it can't be used, and it's got big warning signs everywhere, don't go near, and we've listed it as a minor. How many phone calls do you think I got from that, Mr. Mayor?
Probably not many. Really?
Okay,
Come
I'll
on.
send them to you.
No problem at all.
This is not a minor issue.
Councillor, I agree. We're all on the same page. Again, I think it's important to separate the fact this is a framework for the way all of the parks and reserves throughout the city are looked at and how they sit on that refurbishment program and upgrades for playgrounds and all those sort of things. The ongoing maintenance and dealing with things like water quality and algal bloom can be done separately to this and is done constantly. And Mr. Johnson will be happy to take another walk and another look down there and address those issues.
Well, then we've got things like Tamarisk Reserve. It was 20-odd years ago that a gentleman, and I use that term loosely, fell off drunk, fell off a swing, broke his leg, and we lost 139 parks with their equipment on it. Now, a lot of them haven't been replaced. Tamarisk and Woodlands still hasn't been replaced. Someone rang me from Balcatta. They still haven't got theirs replaced. And yet the city approved a stage of upgrading the playgrounds that had to be removed because they weren't standard. This isn't in there. They're still at the bottom of the barrel. So while there doesn't seem, I don't know quite, I mean, some of it is done in what perceived needs and some is done in, what's in the park at the moment. But I just don't think that some of these things are addressing what's actually happening and what council has approved before. And as for Jackadder Lake, it's a travesty and it's not getting any better.
Thanks, Councillor.
And Mr. Johnson knows that too.
Thanks. Councillor Dudek?
Thank you. I won't speak too long. Just to say, overall, I do have some concerns about the plan and the designs for a lot of these parks, and it's mainly just about losing green space where kids kick balls and play in the park. I am very thankful to the officers for putting this plan together. I think it's a good idea, and we do like to have an idea of when the playgrounds are going to be upgraded, when a bench is going to be added. So I think overall this document's very useful, and I am thankful to the officers as well for speaking to me over the past couple of weeks and giving me some confidence that there will be consultation before these designs are finalised, and they'll very much be happy to listen to myself and my co-wards' opinion on these. Overall, I am a tiny bit concerned that a lot of the direction of this policy is about getting rid of green space and mulching, and if I do end up voting against that, it will likely be concerned about that. But overall, I'm supportive that we've put this together at least.
Thanks for those comments, and I think, look, most of council share those concerns, and Mr Johnson has certainly heard them. So,
Just ask additionally whether or not we actually have a policy on how big the wood chips are and how big the redbacks can be, you know? Do we have anything on that to say?
I know without even looking to my left, we haven't got a policy on the size of redbacks in our parks.
If we get big,
But it's,
big wood chips, we get big spots.
that's a good one. Councillors, is there anyone else who'd like to add comment? If not, I'll go to you, Councillor Migdale, to close debate.
Nothing further.
Thank you. And councillors, I will now go to the vote on this one. That is carried with Councillor Dudak and Councillor Reid voting against, but the motion is carried. Can I also just endorse Councillor Migdale's comments and thank you, Mr Johnson, for your work, and just on behalf of council, the time you spent with all the councillors going through this, a significant body of work, but also council really appreciated the time you spent with each of them to ensure they knew what was happening in their wards. Thanks. Item 14, councillors, we're almost there. Some of these shouldn't take too long. Yes, really. Councillors, 14.1 on page 306, Councillor Ferrante.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think I can sense some scepticism under that, or an issue with my nom. I consider that an outrage in regards to something I want to benefit the ratepayers on. So I'd like to move it in regards to utilising assets that we've paid considerable amount of money for, and obviously a new revenue stream for the city. How is that not considered?
Yes, Councillor. The report will talk to us about that. Councillor Ferrante, that's a notice of motion, and it's seconded by Councillor Migdale. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Kristovich. Do we need to debate this, or is it just to go to a vote? Okay, councillors, I'll allow a short debate. The reason I'm conscious of this, our notice of motion process is that this is for a report to come provide information for you to debate. So if you open debate and start debating on something that there's no information, I think it's easier if you just vote against it. But well, Councillor Ferrante, no, you've...
I look forward to the question and then I'll close.
Right. Councillor Migdale, you seconded?
Yeah, I'm definitely seconding.
Yeah. Okay. And Councillor Kristovich?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. I understand the part of the intent of the motion is about obviously opening up charges for the public to use in more locations, which I thoroughly support. The second part of the motion, I just have some questions first before I make some comments. So in terms of the charges that we currently have available for the public, are they fast charges? Are they ultra fast charges? And also, how much do we currently charge per kilowatt hour?
This is a detail I didn't want to get into when we haven't got a report in front of us, Councillor.
It's a very simple question.
It's not.
Well,
who am I going to? Mr. Kelly.
Thanks for the question. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we have a couple of fast charges in the city. One at the admin centre here, and one down at the two down at the operations centre. Neither of them are available to the public at the moment. So there are a total of 10 charges across the city available to the public at commercial rates, but they're all just normal charges. And the current rate we're charging is about 45 cents per kilowatt hour, which is at the higher end of the market rates available across Perth.
Okay, and the thing I just want to put on the record here is, you know, at the moment, for someone who has an electric vehicle, it costs them anything between, in terms of when you look online, anywhere between $9 and $39 to fill up their vehicle with a 60 kilowatt battery, which will get them about 450 kilometres. So they're paying $39 maximum, somewhere, or as low as $9, depending on where they're filling it up. So between 9 and 30, someone who's got a petrol car is paying over $100 to fill up their car to do the same kilometres. And this motion is saying that people who are paying between $9 and $39 should get a further discount from the city.
But this is my issue, Councillor. I respect you opposing this, but this motion is not saying that. This motion is saying,
It says we consider it. I just
yes,
wanna put- I
this
just wanna-
motion
I
is
just-
asking for a report to consider all of that.
Exactly. So all I want to put on the record is that I do not support increasing rates or cutting services to provide EV users with cheaper power to run their cars when they're already paying nothing. And most of these people would probably already have solar power in their homes, which means they're probably paying even zero to charge their cars. So I just want to put that on the record that I'm not considering giving them free electricity or paying them money and making ratepayers pay for it.
It's noted. So, councillors, I don't think we need to open debate about this, do we? Councillor Papard.
Just a quick one. I was going to propose amending the title of the motion, maybe e-vehicle charging. Would that be appropriate? No?
Very good, Councillor Papard. Councillors, we are putting this, moved Councillor Ferrandi, seconded Councillor Migdale. It's a simple motion. We're looking for Councillor Migdale to vote. That motion is carried 12-3 with myself, Councillor Dudak and Councillor Kristovich voting against it. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dudak, Councillor Perkoff and Mayor Irwin voting against it. Councillor Kristovich, after wasting our time, has voted for it. Go. For those members of the gallery and viewers at home, you should be as confused as I am. Item 14.2, proposed notice of motion from Councillor Migdale.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to move the notice of motion on page 309, noting it is for a report.
Can I just, I'll get Councillor Reid just to second it. No, because then I'll get Councillor Reid and Councillor Migdale to move. They're the same. They're not going to be two different reports. I can give you the tip. So it's for a report to come. So I'll put that to the vote. Or is there someone opposed? Is it? Councillor Dudak, you're opposed?
Sorry, I am opposed. I want to very briefly outline a reason. It won't take longer than 30 seconds.
Councillor Migdale.
This was not in, first of all, again, I reiterate, this is for a report. We don't even understand yet whether it's legal for us to do this and have exclusion zones. We just want a deep dive. I would like to deep dive to see how I can potentially keep residents even safer. I have had feedback from my local area of younger people and older people, who have expressed concern at moving vehicles that are powered, going very fast, while they are wearing headphones and while the kids are playing on their own equipment, and it has concerned them. Anything travelling at speed on a pedestrian track should be examined. So this is just to do that. Thanks.
It's clear. Councillor Reid, do you want to add a quick comment?
My only quick comment is, yes, I totally agree with that. Also, I'd like in the report that we did have a policy on exclusion zones, which means they can't go over a certain boundary. They appeal to be going over that boundary. So I think I'd like that in the report too, please.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Dudak, you're opposed?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not particularly opposed to getting a report, apart from potentially what could be included in that, which it does talk about community consultation and online consultation as being part of the report. I'm concerned for a few reasons, partly as the mover, Councillor Migdale, just stated, we don't even know if it's legal as yet. And when we go out to consultation with these sort of things, it's got the potential that the allegations start flying around about how City of Stirling's
I can give confirmation that officers will provide a report and won't do any of the other stuff until it comes back to a report.
So the community consultation, you can confirm, won't happen before?
No.
Okay, cool. I do just want to say that it is gobsmacking sometimes, some of the restrictions on individual liberties, so I am a bit concerned about this motion. I will still vote against the report, but I'm glad to hear the consultation will be part of it.
Well done, Councillor. And Councillor Ferrante.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm supportive of this as being the ward councillor for Yokine, as I wanted to second that. But that said, doesn't really matter. Obviously, you made your decision, and twice you've gone against me this evening, which has been noted. That said, I do support Councillor Bigdale because sometimes I've felt that you don't have enough warning when they come from behind, and it is a little bit dangerous. So it's something that must be considered that when you're in a park environment, some people just can't hear them because they're pretty quiet and pretty fast. So it is a report that we should consider and look at options so we can sort of look at ways we can mitigate this in any way we can, whether it's legal or not legal. At least we're looking at it.
This is it's pretty clear, Councillor. I don't think we need any more debate on this. I think we can put this item, move Councillor Migdale, seconded Councillor Ree. And we just got one to go, I think. Have we? Yep, Councillor Perkoff. That motion is carried with Councillor Dudak voting against it. Councillor Ree will go to 14.3, which is the same motion, just a different area. But if you'd like to move that. And then Councillor Migdale, you second that.
The only thing I'd like to add is that when we did some consultation before about these e-scooters, and they commented, the people that actually, and I thank our extraordinaire Mr Murphy for that, when they commented about did they like e-bikes, the question was, did you have one? And 80% of the people that said yes had a bike, whereas the people that didn't have a bike were the ones against it. So I think when we're doing the question, could we please add that in as well? Because I think it will skew the results as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think let's just clarify whether someone likes a bike or not. For a start, there won't be consultation in this report. This report is something that will talk about those sort of things, but I don't think that's part of this report, whether they like it or not. This is about the safety stuff. But it's noted. It's clear why you're moving these motions. Can I just note that I'll put this one, move Councillor Ree, Councillor Migdale, but the intent is I'll be letting this through the CEO. This is one report coming back. Yeah. Yeah. We just got one to go, I think. Councillor Hatton, you're sharing it around tonight, councillors. Yep. Yeah. Councillors, that motion is carried with Councillor Dudak voting against it, everyone else voting for it. Well done getting through that. We'll now go on to item 15, notice for motion consideration at the next meeting. I have one to get us started, and the nom is that the Mayor, I'm talking about myself in the third person, that the Mayor writes to the Minister and requests that as part of any future Metropolitan Regional Planning Scheme amendment process to reclassify the reserve of Stevenson Highway Primary. They just started typing, the whole thing moved. Regional Road Reserve to Urban, that extensive environmental studies be undertaken and that a concurrent amendment to the city's local planning scheme be undertaken to protect this vegetation. And the reason is, given that the state government has finalised their initial studies and does not believe there is a requirement or a need for a connector road, the city has no reason not to support the retention of this land in its current form. And
Actually saying which part of Stevenson, because it's a big road.
yeah,
You're saying the whole lot?
Sure.
The whole,
Yep.
the whole of Stevenson Highway Primary Road, Regional Road. Okay. The 1955 Plan Road. Okay,
No,
fine.
that's not what it is, Councillor. That's not the part that's under consideration. Councillor, let's not debate a nom for consideration at the next meeting that hasn't come up yet. Appreciate your passion, but Councillor Iron, I believe you have a nom.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Data reports to be presented to Council for a Community Legal Service trial to be considered at Diana Library in response to community feedback.
Thank you, Councillor. No one needs a second. You don't need to debate it or second.
No, don't
To the
do
next
anything.
meeting. Is there any other noms that anyone wishes to be put up? You don't need to do it tonight. It can be done after tonight. Item 16, questions. We have nil. 17, we have no new business either. 18, matters behind closed doors. We have nil. Brings us to item 19, which is closure. Councillors, I close the meeting at 8:02 p.m. Thank you for your attendance. Thanks those members of the galleries for hanging around and listening. Thank you, officers. Good night.